Hey everyone, Gregory Ortiz here, and we're gearing up for another university class. So in this video, we're going to be going over PBN metrics, making analysis paralysis obsolete. So one of the biggest things that I see is a lot of people are analyzing all these different sites, and they're just stuck with complete paralysis. So I'm going to analyze this PBN, this one, this one, this one, and they get stuck in all the data, and they don't actually take any action. Or if they do take action, it's not as much action as they could take if they weren't analyzing things so much. So there are many different ways that you can analyze a PBN. I'm just going to go over the ways I do it, which I feel are the most time efficient. And of course, there may be a thing or two that you can add on yourself that you definitely want to take into consideration when you're analyzing your own PBN. But once again, this has worked very well for me so far. So when we're analyzing our PBNs, I just want to let you guys know this video is not going to be a long one like most of the other ones. However, it's one of the absolute most important ones that you're going to see if you're going to be using PBNs in your arsenal. Now, the tools of the trade. So just like when we analyze our competition, we're going to be using the same tools to analyze our very own sites and PBNs. And they are Majestic, formerly known as Majestic SEO. And we're going to be using Open Site Explorer. It's a tool from Moz. They also used to be called Moz SEO. Looks like both companies decided to drop the SEO from the end of their name. And we're also going to be using Google.com to check for indexation of our PBNs. So what are we looking for? We need to make sure that the site first and foremost is indexed. This is the most important step because if the site is not indexed, we are completely wasting our time on purchasing a PBN. Now, one thing I do want to mention is if you are purchasing auction PBNs, then this is the absolute most critical step, simply because the site is already live, active, and it should still be indexed. Now, if you are purchasing PBNs and they happen to be already deleted or they're drop domains, it's very possible that they're actually not indexed at the moment because they haven't had any content on them for so long, and that's perfectly fine. You can go about and get them re-indexed. But just remember, if you're bidding on GoDaddy auctions or any other auctions such as Snap, Namejet, or anything else, they need to be indexed, okay? We're also going to be checking to make sure that the site doesn't have any spam anchors pointing to it, and that all of its links are coming from good and or reputable sources. The better the links are, the better it is for us. We don't want any links coming from, like let's say there was a backlink from playboy.com, but we're actually going to be using this PBN for something educational related that doesn't deal with anything that would come from Playboy. It's not actually a great source to have it coming from. Now we're going to jump into a live analyzation. So we're going to be analyzing our wgdforum.com PBN site, and we're going to go over all of its metrics. So the metrics, like I said, we'll be covering are the ones that I find are the most time efficient to go into. There's plenty other ways to skin a cat, as they say, but we're just going to go over quickly the ones that I look at so that way I can analyze PBNs quickly at a glance. Because the object is, if you are purchasing PBNs and you're getting them at auction and you're analyzing them, you want to go through as many as you can as efficiently as possible. You don't want to spend an entire day analyzing like 10 PBN sites. You just wasted an entire day when you could have been doing other stuff such as making money. So we want to use our time wisely. So let's jump right into analyzing this site, and I'll show you guys exactly what I look for. All right, so here we are. We are on majestic.com, and as you can see, I have the PBN site open, wgdforum.com. Majestic is open, so is Open Site Explorer from Moz, and we're actually going to open up google.com as well. So like I said, the first thing is to make sure the site is indexed. So we're going to type in site, colon, and then the domain name. So you want a stripped domain name, and what I mean by that is there shouldn't be any trailing slashes at the end of the domain name, and there shouldn't be any HTTP or www. All you want it to say is just site, colon, domain name, dot, whatever extension it ends in. So you go ahead and you press enter, and as you can see, it is the first thing showing here. So you always want your PBN to be the first result showing, because to Google, if I'm looking for a specific site, that should show me the site as the first result. Now, for some strange reason, it actually showed as like the third result, second result, fourth result, and so on and so forth. That means something could be a little bit wrong with it. It could be a little off, could have a potential penalty, maybe a partial penalty on it for some strange reason. You always want to make sure that it is the first result showing. Now, if it's not showing at all, any of the domain name.com, then that means the site has actually been completely de-indexed, which is Doesn't necessarily mean that the site is unusable. However, for our purposes, we are not going to be using it because we're not going to be digging into penalty recovery and all of that. However, you would only want to purchase a PBN if it is the first listing showing. And once again, remember, this is solely based upon if they are auction domains. If they are dropped or deleted domains, then this does not always apply. Now let's jump into Majestic. Put in the domain name. Now, as you can see, it has a 10 trust flow and a 15 citation flow. So one of the things that I always look for is for things to have as close to a 1-to-1 ratio. Meaning if this was a trust flow 10 and this was a citation flow 10, then it has an exact even 1-to-1 ratio. As you can see here, it's a 1 to 1.5% ratio, which is absolutely perfect. It's perfectly fine. It's within the realm of showing you that things may not be off. Now, the reason why I look at this first and foremost is, first off, I don't want any sites to have less than 10 trust flow. To me, 10 and above is okay. Now, if I saw a very, very high citation flow and a low trust flow, then that tells me a few things. One, the site has been blasted out there on a bunch of other sites that may not be as reputable. It could be spammed, or it could have something else funky going on, and I just stay away from those. So you want to have as close to a 1-to-1 ratio as possible. Even if you have a 1-to-2 ratio, sometimes that's okay, but anything more than that, you're talking crazy. So what we're going to do is also go down and look at the external backlinks. So 274 backlinks out of 21 referring domains. So we're looking about an average of about 10 backlinks per domain, which is okay. And as we continue to scroll down, we'll actually take a look here, see the little dots. I prefer to have a bunch of them grouped together somewhere here in the middle, but they're okay because we do know that the metrics aren't exactly the highest. So 10 trust flow, 15 citation. Now, the next thing I like to do is take a look at the backlink history. So as you can see, most of their backlinks were given to them slowly over time, little by little. Then there was a spike, went down, another spike, down, some spike, and then it's been down and dropped ever since. Same thing with referring domains. If you saw like a huge spike out of nowhere and then a complete drop, that's also might be a little bit of a red flag to you, because that means someone was actively link building for a very, very, very short period of time just to boost the results. Next thing I like to do is take a look at the backlink breakdown. So I like to see, are they do follow, no follow, that the backlinks are currently pointing to the site. As you can see, most of them are no follow, 243, and 31 are do follow. Now, normally this doesn't mean it's terrible, simply because the do follow links might actually be very powerful. So we'll take a look at those in a bit. And then I also like to take a look at see how many links are still active. So 268 links are still live the last time the site was crawled, with about 6 that have gotten deleted. Also want to see where these links are coming from. So as you can see, almost all of them are text links, which means they are anchor text, and 2 of them are redirects. So we're getting 2 redirects pointing back to this site, which if memory serves me correctly, one of them more than likely is from the 301 redirect trick I showed on Source TV. Now the next thing I like to take a look at is the anchor text. So when we're looking at the anchor text, we're looking for diversification. So as you can see, there's 21% of other anchor text, which is good, which means it's a bunch of miscellaneous anchor text grouped together. 21% of Adobe Dreamweaver CS3 review from discussion forum, which is apparently what this site used to be, hence wgdforum.com. 14% of it saying the cool list. 12% for discussion for CSS JavaScript, and 12% for fine answers to graphic and web questions. Now, if I was bidding on this site, I would prefer for this 21% to actually be a little bit less, but that's okay because we're actually not trying to rank for this specific phrase. We're not going to be using it for that purpose, but I would prefer this to be actually a little bit smaller, to be completely honest with you. Next thing I want to take a look at is the backlinks. They say it's all about the backlinks. Well, that's absolutely true. So the very, very first backlink we see is from nostarch.com/eblender. And as you can see, it has a trust flow of a 29 and a citation flow of a 30 for that specific page, which is great. Close to the 1-to-1 ratio, pretty high trust flow, great citation flow. Next up is from congawm.org. 9 trust flow, 25 citation. Not exactly the 1-to-1 ratio we're looking for. Then you'll see it's a no follow link, which has the 1-to-1.5 ratio. This one's deleted, so it doesn't matter anymore. And this one is a no follow 1010. Now, if we jump up and we go into referring domains, I like to see how many backlinks we're getting from any specific domain. because it should raise a red flag if you're getting like hundreds or thousands of backlinks from one domain and like one or two from every other one. So as you can see, we have 63 backlinks from freewebbuttons.net, trust flow of 0, citation flow of 23. This is one site that I would prefer there were no backlinks from, simply because of its trust flow. And you could theoretically go ahead and contact the webmaster and see if they could get rid of the backlinks pointing to this site. Next up is vistamenu.com. There's also vistamenus.com. So you have a trust level of 20, 28, 4, 25, 4, 11, 14, 20, 10, 26, 5, 25. And then from Blogspot, you have 9 of them, which is a 92 and a 90, which is great. So as you can see, the backlinks pointing to them aren't exactly the best, but they're not that bad either. Hence why it has a trust flow of a 10 and a citation flow of 15. So if I was to go about bidding on this PBN, I would have no problem spending anywhere between, now most auctions, especially from GoDaddy, they start around $10 to $12. So obviously if it's in that range, I would bid on it without even thinking about it after reviewing these metrics and just checking all of its stats. And the next thing I would do is I would just say to myself, okay, what's the most I'm willing to pay for this PBN? You know, you don't want to get too committed to a PBN and say, okay, I'm going to bid on this one, and every time you get outbid, you keep bidding on it. It's not great for you to do. So if I was to bid on this one, I would probably spend anywhere between maybe $12 to $30, $35 on this. That's about it. Anything more than that, I wouldn't bother wasting my time with it. Okay. And now next up, we're going to go into Open Site Explorer and see if the metrics there are any different and if it'll sway us to maybe pay a little bit more, a little bit less. So as you can see, a domain authority of a 22, which is good. Page authority of a 27. And it has from wiki.barcamper.org. So a PA of 22, DA of 33. 3 of them are the exact same stats. They're almost the same page with, actually they're different pages. And then the last one is a PA of a 20 with a DA of a 33. So it's not too bad. You're only going to see one backlink because I've said in previous videos, Moz doesn't crawl sites as often as Majestic does. And Majestic has the largest index on the internet. So it actually has a lot more sites that it can aggregate data from, which is why you'll see less in Moz. However, we don't see anything wrong with it here, so I still firmly believe that I have no problem paying anywhere between $12 to $30, maybe $35 for this PBN. And that's how you would go about just analyzing its metrics, making sure everything's okay with it. First thing you do, of course, is make sure it's indexed if it is a auction PBN. If it's not an auction PBN, then you just go ahead and do what we did with Majestic and Open Site Explorer. And that's pretty much it when it comes to analyzing your potential PBNs. So if you guys have any further questions, just feel free to post it into the Facebook group, and I'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions. Thanks so much. See you in the next video.